Welcome to the Shaddo Show.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Fourth day in a row. I'm staying on this, even if absolutely nobody is interested in anything I have to say. I'm still gonna say it. I'm sorry. Yeah, why not? You know, I feel like this is a healthy outlet. You know, I'm sober from alcohol and shit. I'm not doing anything except just talking about things that I find interesting. You know, just little weird coincidences out there. And tonight's episode is not going to be any different than the others. It's going to be about the moon, Luna, that thing in the sky that we always see that ain't the sun. And yeah, I mean, there's just some weird stuff about it. You know, I mean, you're born around this thing. It's there the whole time. It goes up, it comes down. You know, there's full moons. People act crazy, and then there's just this place. You know, there's just the moon. Right? What is it? You know, do we all think? How does it even get there? How are these objects formed in space? But I have this. You know, I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't think it's a natural thing. You know, I think it's very weird. You know, just there's a lot of coincidences with that thing. Ancient technology, right? That's something I suspect because humanity is only 200,000 years old, and that whole time, not a whole lot going on. And then just in the past 150 years, our technological advances have gone through the roof. You know, all sorts of things are happening at an increasingly more advanced scale. And maybe that's just naturally how it occurs, but, you know, previous episode we talked about UAPs. We deep dove all that stuff. And, I mean, honestly, the way it occurs to me is that we've either recovered stuff or we have people helping us that aren't from here. Or maybe people that have been here the whole time that just have a lot longer lives. And, well, the moon, right? The moon. What about the moon? This thing it's always there. It's always looking at you guys. Okay, and I genuinely mean that. It's always looking at Earth. Always. It is always facing Earth on the same side. So the dark side of the moon is always facing away from the Earth. Okay? Because as it spins around the planet, itself is rotating at the same speed. All right? So it's essentially always facing us. So I don't have two round objects here, unfortunately. But we have, let's say this is Earth, right? And the moon, as it spins, okay, it's always facing us. So it's essentially rotating like that as it goes around. It's always facing us, the same side. It's always looking at the planet Earth. And I don't, the Y files, again, this guy, AJ, has done a ton of videos on the moon. He also is in agreement that's a weird fucking thing. Me too. You know, I just, yep. I mean, it's so perfect right there. And one of my biggest things that just kind of recently clicked and why I'm talking about it now like this, you know, for something, it's always facing us, right? How did it get the impact craters on it, on the side that faces us? All right, we're going to take a close look at these. And, you know, of all the shows I've done so far, this one is probably going to be around an hour long. We'll see. I don't know. I like to ramble. But we'll take a closer look at the moon. And it's always facing us. Okay? Yet all the impact craters are on one side of it. Okay, I need to see if I can locate some images of the reverse side of the moon. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. I mean, okay, I guess that'll work. I mean, I guess the NASA Earth Observatory would be a pretty good one to go with. But let's just go ahead and just start with this right here. I am an avid fan of space and all the stuff that's out there. I love Earth. It has so many beautiful features. But guys, you know, maybe they make the world so bad so we want to leave this place, right? Because that's the motivation. You know, if Earth was perfect, would we be motivated to go? All right. I don't know if anyone's watched the 3-Body Problem, but that, you know, that's pretty interesting concept. You know, their technological advances come from necessity. You know, ours, you know, I think this planet has been relatively peaceful for thousands of years. Our advances just Are we surviving each other? Are we preparing to be fighting something else? Because I don't know. I figure by now we would have evolved to the point of being able to have civil discourse, and we can avoid world wars and trade conflicts and stupidity. And by now I'd figured most basic needs would be met. Without craziness. I'm not gonna. I'm not taking it back, guys. I'm not saying that we're not on top of things. The world is actually coming along really fucking amazingly. But we're all just a little bit, just give it a little bit extra. All right. How far away are we from, the good side of things, But the moon, even the original landing, right? They say that Stanley Kubrick faked it. Maybe, AJ has a whole episode on that. It is exceptionally questionable. But for me, my biggest curiosity is, if it's always facing us, where did those impact craters come from? And to expand on my theory, if it is ancient technology, I mean, it's no moon. It's a space station. It's a fucking Death Star, right? I don't know. I mean, all religions have that origin story. The flood myth, right? And that could be where this thing came from. The earth was created in 7 days. I think this thing, maybe we're attached to it. Right? Consciousness as a wave function. Who the fuck knows, guys? But it is exceptionally weird how something that is always facing us has all these impact craters on it. And I got a super duper high res image of the moon right now. And I don't really have a script or anything for this show, but I'm using chat to help me a little bit through here, because there's a few different points we can make about this thing. All right, and I just want to go with what I have on my head first, and it's these damn impact craters. All right, and they're always facing us. Let's take a look at this. All right, we'll blow it up here because this is a nice big old picture of the moon. And this is a really big picture of the moon. Look at that. That is fucking impressive. We can get closer. Look closer. Closer. Look at all these different impact craters. Okay? So, I don't know if you guys have ever chucked a rock at some dirt, but if it comes from an angle, right, it's gonna have that little skip action going on. So if it impacts at an angle, you would expect to see kind of like some kind of ejected going off the other direction, right? But all these impact craters on the side that's facing us all the time. Like, some of these are just ginormous. Like, look at that thing. And this is a super high-res picture of the moon, okay? All of those seem like very, like, direct hits. And it's all on the side that's facing us. Yeah, some of these look like the Terminator when he got shot by that shotgun. It just creates that bullet, So many large ones, big ones, but I wonder if we could use, like, this one looks like it might have been hits on hits here. Hits on hits. Impacts within impacts. Like, that looks fresh as shit right there. That probably is the freshest one. Wow, what is that? What the hell are we looking at here? That looks... fucking A, guys. Why does that look like a fucking road or something? Plate activity? tectonics over there, you think, maybe? And that one kind of does, see, that's kind of what I'd expect to see. To have, well, you guys can't even probably see it here, but to see how that has like a splash, right? So like an impact from an angle. But if we're taking the picture straight from here looking right at it, a lot of these holes look like it's facing us. I mean, this thing is, I mean, you can see impacts on the side and stuff. But for something that is just so, and it's just at a great distance from us, you know, not too far, not too close. If it wasn't for the moon, we wouldn't have the tides. Okay, and that's, you know, that's a big life giver right there. It kind of slushes up the pond as it were. Up high, we can see. Oh, it feels kind of like it dies off over there. Some of these over here, like it just. Why does that look like travel? You know, like that looks weird. Are they shopping stuff? Big old huge ass honking craters, and then you got hits on hits. Like I love having fun with this stuff, you know. Anything's possible, guys. Right? Including world peace, right? Anything's possible. Alright, fuck it. Let's have the moon be a fucking spaceship or something, guys. Anything for world peace, right? And if the moon controls us, wow. Maybe that's why people get all fucking crazy on full moons. And wouldn't it be awesome just to be able to cruise up there and go take a look at it? You know? Just, it's so cool looking, being able to see it from down here. Man, it sure as hell looks like none of these craters go past a certain depth, though. And, you know, the theory, you know, scientific, I don't know what you guys think it, how it got here, alright? You can always fall back on religion. God created the heavens of the earth. Yeah, that's lazy, guys. Let's pursue knowledge, okay, and try to understand things. You gotta let go of. Books put you in boxes, right? Books can free your mind, but they can also trap them. And that is just a lot of fucking impacts. And it really feels like this is like that seems like an asteroid or something right there. So I'd expect some kind of like around there. Because in order for all these impacts to happen, that the trajectory with Earth, right, it's always facing us. So it would have to, I mean, it has to come from the Earth, right? Or maybe whatever other planet that it was occupying. I don't know, guys. I don't know. We're going to investigate this a little bit. We're going to take a look at some of the other things here. ChatGPT is helping me out on this one a little bit. We could take a look. Just, man, that's just wild. I think that's such a perfect smackaroo right there. That looks like several impacts in the same spot. And those are huge. Right? And they say the material on the moon is silicate, I think. We'll figure it out. Let's see here. Ooh. Regolith, which includes materials like basalt and anorthosite. It also features impact craters and ancient lava flows with the crust made up of minerals such as oxygen, silicon, iron, and magnesium. Interesting, interesting. It's a differentiated body with layered structure consisting of a crust, mantle, and core. So, okay. Dark, flat areas. The Maria. Dark flat areas created by ancient volcanic activity filled with basaltic lava. Okay. Craters formed by impacts. These features vary in size and provide a record of the moon's history. Okay. This is the back of the moon, you know, from NASA's website. Oh, that is a terrible goddamn picture. What the fuck? Okay. No, not Pink Floyd. No, I don't want Pink Floyd. No. Okay, how about far side of the moon? Okay. NASA just released. Okay, I want to look at something on NASA's website. But even that's debatable because it's been proven that they've gone through and photoshopped a bunch of shit. Okay. Well, damn, that does look kind of weird, doesn't it? So we can see the front side here. Okay, come on, scooch over, buddy. I want to see that backside. See, that's kind of what I'm expecting right there. You got a schmackaroo, and then there's other things that's all over the side of it. But it really doesn't look like the impact craters are as numerous as it is on the side that's facing us. Or maybe it's just the resolution of the image. The fact that we went up there in 69, and this is the best we can still come up with, is kind of laughable, right? All right. All we've done, all the technology that we've mastered since going up there is just looking at the fucking Earth and tracking people. Okay? Every phone, every device, this network, you know, this camera, it's all tapped. Everything's tapped at this point. Edward Snowden came back and, you know, that's why he fled to Russia. He's like, hey, they're doing mass spying on absolutely everybody. And nothing changed. And if, well, who's watching us, guys? It's weird stuff. These granulated images are terrible. Terrible. Alright, let's see what else we can find here. The far side of the moon. So this is the composite that they think it is. They think it has ancient magma ocean. Interesting. Well, let's talk about the land before time, or the time before the land of the moon. Yeah, what is the most interesting, most credible? It's all wacky people. Oh, there we go. Smithsonian, right? Apparently they got all the good shit buried under there. One of these days I'm going to make my way over there and check out that museum. Claiming the moon was a rock, not a god. No, that's not the guy I'm looking for. No, I was talking about Aristotle. Reference Akkadian people who lived before there was a moon in the sky. Okay. I mean, this isn't speaking of that at all. The moon and sun are not gods, but rather objects. Okay, whatever. What do we get? Nope. That's not fun. Alright, let's do something fun. Fringe. Not cringe. Fringe. I mean, I'm okay with having crazy thoughts out there. I mean, guys, if we made a whole Star Wars saga around a Death Star, and they literally say that's no moon, it's a space station. And I'll reference it again, 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? They go up to the moon and they discover something. And this came out the year before we went to the moon. And we went up to the moon only a handful of times. And then China went up there earlier this year, and then someone from Austin, you know, they weren't sending people, but these were probes, and then we sent something out there and it fucking got broken. It's like, dude, like, are we really this bad at things? I don't believe it, guys. I really don't fucking believe it. I just don't. You know, I really do think the moon is ancient tech, and yeah, in ancient writings and traditions, one can find proof of a time when the moon did not exist. Democritus and Anaxagoras mentioned that there was a time when no moon could be seen in the night skies. Describing the history of the Greek region of Arcadia, Aristotle writes that Pelasgians lived in the area since very old times, at a time when the moon did not exist. Apollonios from Rhodes mentions something similar. He talks about a time when not all the celestial objects exist in the sky. Before the time of Deucalion and Pyrrhus' generation, before the cataclysm, right? Before the cataclysm, flood myths, whatever. When the moon did not exist, and the only humans that existed were the Pelasgians living on the mountains of Arcadia, region in Greece. These inhabitants of Arcadia were also known as proselynes, meaning those that were before moon in Greek. So there's some. All right, we're getting into it, right? I can dig it. In Plutarch's work, Morals, we find the following. There were Arcadians of Evander's following, the so-called pre-lunar people. Similarly, Ovid wrote, the Arcadians are said to have possessed their land before the birth of Zeus, and the folk is older than the moon. Okay, so these might be, honestly, I recommend everyone go sub to the Y-Files and watch all his stuff about the cryptids and, all the theories about humanity. Like, this is the 6th or 7th time that we've existed, and and this is all within the past million years. All right. Similarly, Ovid wrote, the Arcadians are said to have possessed their land before the birth of Zeus, and the folk is older than the moon. All right, so cryptids, they rumor like Sam Squatch. They're just an old. We are the current version of spiritual manifestation, I guess. Souls trapped in the moon, right? And it just, the body is born, and then the soul occupies the vessel. Something like that. Maybe that's what the Christ consciousness is, right? Maybe that 2,000 years ago shit was kind of like, hey guys, get it together, because, Let's keep reading this. Stephanus of Byzantium wrote, Arcadians and females both exist before the moon. Alright. Hippolytus refers to a legend that Arcadia brought forth Pelasgus of greater antiquity than the moon. Meow. Lucianus, in his astrology, says that Arcadians affirm in their folly that they are older than the moon. Evidence has also been found in other parts of the world. In Bolivia, interesting, symbols on the wall of the courtyard of Calasasaya, built in 13,000 BC, all right, provide evidence that the moon came into orbit around the Earth at a specific moment in time thousands of years ago, long before what mainstream historians refer to as recorded history. Moreover, the calendar gate in the same site provides evidence that a smaller satellite once rotated around the Earth. Interesting. The oral traditions of Colombian Indians of the Bogota Highlands in the eastern Cordilleras of Colombia refer to a time before the moon. In the earliest times when the moon was not yet in the heavens. So they all right, seems to be part of tradition, oral tradition. And before we had writing, that was like the number one way to pass down information, was telling stories, Africa also provides its own evidence. According to Zulu legend, the moon was brought hundreds of generations ago by two brothers of alien form, Wawane and Maganku. Whatever. What does this all mean? What does all this mean? The ancient memory of Earth inhabited by humans without a moon has passed from generations to generations, forming the traditions of numerous civilizations. How did the moon get there? I love it. The period when the Earth was moonless is probably the most remote recollection of mankind. Democritus and Anaxagoras taught that there was a time when the Earth was without the moon. Aristotle wrote that Arcadia and Greece, before being inhabited by the Hellenes, had a population of Pelasgians, and that these aborigines occupied the land already before there was a moon in the sky above the Earth. For this reason, they were called proselynes. Okay, seems like this article is kind of repeating itself. Plutarch wrote in the Roman questions. There were Arcadians of Avengers following up. Okay, so there's just clickbait shit going on and on. Man, where's all the good shit, guys? I mean, I get it. You need to have fucking. You need to keep scrolling. And on the way down this fucking thing, we've seen 15 fucking ads. Not buying a fucking blanket. Not ever gonna buy anything that's in an advertisement. Okay? Some allusions to the time before there was a moon may be found also in scriptures. All right, in Job 25:5, the grandeur of the Lord who makes peace in the heights is praised, and the time is mentioned before there was a moon and did not shine. All right, Psalm 72:5, it said, "Thou wast feared since the time of the sun and before the time of the moon, a generation of generations." Okay, means a very long time. No shit. Of course, it has no use to counter the psalm with the myth of the first chapter of Genesis, a tale brought down from exotic and later sources. All right. The memory of a world without a moon lives in oral tradition among the Indians. All right. Okay. Said that twice. All right. Okay. 3 theories on the origin of the moon. Okay. The moon originated at the same time as the Earth, being formed substantially from the same material, aggregating and solidifying. All right. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watch Cosmos. It's worth it. It's amazing. Funny story behind the creation of that show. But 2 interstellar objects, and then as it peels apart, something formed the moon, and the Earth formed from that billions of years ago. I don't know about that, guys. I don't know about that. It's a little bit too coincidental, especially with the moon. Just magic. Like, dude, just the sheer chances of it forming it naturally like that, and then maintaining orbit, maintaining a spin at the same rate of orbit that it always keeps, it's always facing us. Hey, it's tidal locked, right? But it's literally the reason why we have tides. If anything should be moving, it would be the Earth, and that's why we do have a wobble. But the moon doesn't change. It's always constant, always looking. It's always watching us. The moon was formed not in the vicinity of the Earth, but in a different part of the solar system, and was later captured by the Earth, which means this nonsense happened further elsewhere, and then just gravity somehow got captured by the Earth, but it didn't pull it down and cause an impact on the Earth. That means it somehow, everything's just magically, but faith in God, whatever. Religion is very easy for all these leaps right here. But if you take all the faith and religion bullshit out of it, I don't know. Honestly, it's just always looking at us, and the damn impact craters are just, they're looking at us. Those are impact craters, direct impacts. In my book, they're not coming in at a steep angle or anything like that. That is very much fing fing. Maybe they're exceptionally old, right? I don't know, because I mean, if we're talking old like that whole area looks like that. Those look really old, but then it has impacts within it, and then impacts within that, and those do look like fucking something smacked it straight on. I think maybe when this thing showed up, whatever was existing on this planet, or maybe this isn't the first planet that it captured, because time for us occurs in 80 years. All right, that's our beginning and end. If you're lucky, 120, right? Unless you're a vampire, and then you can just keep going, right? Because you figure out the trick. But damn, man, see, that looks fair. That looks fresh as shit right there. It's so fucking weird. Might piece together some stuff later on showing UAPs and stuff coming to and fro that place. And there's rumor that there's like a secret Nazi base up there, right, on the dark side of the moon. And China's been up there all of a sudden this year after Trump got elected. All of a sudden everyone's trying to get up there too. What's up there? Why didn't we go back yet? Wait a minute, we can question things. That's still an option. Oh no, where'd it go? Okay, I don't want that. Alright. Okay, and the moon was originally a portion of the terrestrial crust and was torn out, leaving behind the bed of the Pacific. So something hit us so hard that it peeled it off, and it made a perfect sphere that stays exactly. Oh my god, dude! It just doesn't click. None of these click. claim the presence of the moon on an orbit around the Earth for millions of years. Mythology may supply each of these views with some support. Genesis 1 for the first view, the birth of Aphrodite from the sea of the third view, Aphrodite's origin and the disruption of Uranus. Yeah, take a close look. You'll see rings around Uranus. And also the violence of sin, the Babylonian moon, seems to support the second view. Okay. Since mankind on both sides of the Atlantic preserved the memory of a time where the Earth was without the moon, the first hypothesis, namely of the moon originating simultaneously with Earth in its vicinity, is to be excluded, leaving the other two hypotheses to compete between themselves. And we've seen that the traditions of diverse people offer corroborative testimony to the effect that in a very early age, but still in the memory of mankind, no moon accompanied the Earth. So the oldest cultures that we are actively trying to eradicate, all right, it's part of their oral tradition. And I don't know if you guys know Native Americans, Indians, you know, George Carlin's like one with God, all right? These people get it. And, you know, I think when the moon showed up, this planet used to be connected to a bunch of other places, right? I don't know. We can talk more about crazier shit later on in a different episode, but if things, I deep down, my intuition is telling me things are a lot older than we're being told. A lot older. And we are a lot newer. You know, 6,000 years in the scale of millions and billions. Millions, billions, millions, billions. Yeah. It's... Where do we get the audacity to think that we're the end-all be-all? You know, small pegs, small little cogs in a machine. We're barely starting to develop intuition, right? Are we going to let the planet destroy us or what? Is the planet reacting to the presence of the moon? Does it see us like... I don't know, guys. Maybe the moon's a life raft. And it came to Earth and it made this shit go on. You know? Life. The dinosaurs, right? The algae that died, right? Where supposedly all the fossil fuels come from. Yeah, we'll do an episode on fuel later on. I think tomorrow we're going to talk about Trump and all the nonsense about that dude. And just his history with his family's history, you know, with everything, right? BlackRock and UAPs, and there's just, yeah, it's a damn shame, right? I don't want to go to fucking war with the world, you know, for some rich fucking lunatic that doesn't give a fuck about me. I'm tired of that shit, dude. We've evolved past that. We can have peace, all right? We were supposed to have peace, all right? Second coming, right? These people rather hurt kids. But I digress. You know, back to the moon. So, since mankind on both sides of the Atlantic preserved it, yada, 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 we have seen that the traditions of diverse peoples offer corroborative testimony that at a very early age, but still in the memory of mankind, no moon accompanied the Earth. Since human beings already peopled the Earth, I never heard people use as a verb, but I kind of get it. It kind of fits. It is improbable that the moon sprang from it. There must have existed a solid lithosphere, not a liquid Earth. Thus, while I do not claim to know the origin of the moon, I find it more probable that the moon was captured by the Earth. Or how about the Earth was captured by the moon? Right? UAPs are orbs. You got Tic Tacs out there. That's supposedly Lockheed Martin tech. Thus, while I do not claim to know the origin of the moon, I find it more probable that the moon was captured. There is no evidence to suggest whether the moon was a planet, a satellite of another planet, or a comet. I mean, that would be a ridiculously sized comet. At the time of its capture by the Earth, whatever atmosphere it may have had was pulled away by the Earth, by other contacting bodies or dissipated in some other way. Well, why does it say that the surface is made of it's 50% oxygen, right? Silicon, iron, magnesium, calcium, aluminum, titanium, 1%. Oh boy. I mean, for all the impacts, so the theory that if it formed naturally, right? So the way these things happen is just they coalesce. And it starts accumulating more mass, more mass, more mass. So everything on the top layer should be pretty much it's not like cement. But all the impact craters that we can see, they don't really seem to penetrate that deep. They don't go that far. Since the time the moon began to accompany the Earth, it underwent the influence of contact with comets and planets that passed near the Earth in subsequent ages. The mass of the moon being less than that of the Earth, the moon must have suffered greater disturbances in cosmic contacts. I don't know. Earth's mysterious heat wave 400,000 years ago. Remember what I said? The ice core samples, they go up to 1.2 million years ago, which is ironically about the same time that our psilocybin cubensis, right? We can track kind of where everything kind of intersects and stuff, and we have a connection to psilocybin cubensis. Truth. All right. During these contacts, the moon was not carried away. This is due to the fact that no body more powerful than the Earth came sufficiently close to the moon to take it away from the Earth for good. But in the contacts that took place, the moon was removed repeatedly from one orbit to another. The variations in the position of the moon can be read in the variations in the length of the month. The length of the month repeatedly changed in subsequent catastrophic events, and for this there exists a large amount of supporting evidence. Okay, in these later occurrences, the moon played a passive role, and Zeus in the Iliad advised it, Aphrodite, to stay out of the battle in which Athene and Ares, Venus and Mars, were the main contestants. Sentient planets? Or were those just the names of the people that ruled those domains? I don't know. We don't know. But, interesting concept. Interesting concept. Let's see here. Zulu. Yep. Okay, how about this one? I've never heard of this one. The Colburn Bible. Archive.org, thank you so much for being a real thing. Alright, let's just say the cover of the summarize. Let's just summarize it. Damn. Graham Hancock. Oh, look at this guy. Okay, this Graham Hancock, another big dude that's about questioning all the crazy shit. That guy has spent his life going around the world learning about all these things, about the hidden, archaeology, the foreboding, languishing in print. Actually, if I can download that, I am going to download that. Straight up. Where's the button? 1.3 gigs. Oh boy. Where can I download this? It's open source. There's one review for this thing. Download options. EPUB. Can I do EPUB? Actually, no, PDF is healthy. It's only 3.5 megs. That's way better.
Oh, sweet. High res. Advanced graphics. 855 pages.
Well, did I actually fucking download it? Save it. You guys can't see any of this. Fantastic. No one needs to know my fucking C drive. I tell you what. I mean, I don't have anything bad on here. I'm just a kooky guy. I'm not even gonna say I'm old. No, just a dude. Just a dude. All right. Just a dude, bro. From California. The California. Save. And then I'm just going to feed this up into Chat GPT. Shaddo Show. Boopity bop ba. Let's see how fast ChatGPT can. Oh man, it read 855 pages that fucking quick. And yeah, we're definitely going to go over an hour. God damn it. Because this is only. I got 5 different topics on the moon regarding its questionability. So this is only topic 2. Not really a script, but, you know, I'm going with it. I'm going with it. Okay, the moon did not always exist. All right, here's a summary of the moon-related content found in the Colburn Bible. Key moon references. All right, the moon did not always exist. All right, we'll just read this real quick together, guys. I mean, ChatGPT read this shit faster than this. Holy balls. Look at that, dude. They really gave it them. Wow. Yep. Interesting. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I am reading it this fast. Just like you guys should be able to. I don't know why you can't. It's called skimming, right? You learn this in kindergarten, right? This is me in the end user license agreement for every fucking game, every single piece of tech, anything that I've ever agreed to. No one reads this shit. That bad. Oh my lord. Okay, yeah, they got. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay, and we're getting there. Okay. Yep. Oh, shocker. Okay. Yeah, well, there's a picture. Saw that, right? That was a good picture. Oh, there's another picture. You blink, you miss it. Oh, there's another picture. This is more like a picture book than anything else, really. Goes. Oh, shit, another picture. All right, that was awesome. It was like a bird or something. And, yeah, cool. Good stuff. All right. Wait, can I even find the little button right there? Yeah, it doesn't want me to do it. Yep. Okay, so the moon did not always exist. Multiple passages in the Colburn describe a time before the moon was in the sky. Here's a little excerpt. Then, with the dawning, men saw an awesome sight. There, riding on a great black rolling cloud, came the destroyer. Sounds like a Death Star to me. The dark days began with the last visitation of the destroyer and were foretold by strange omens in the skies. All men were silent as they watched the sky. This implies a celestial change, possibly referencing the moon's arrival. Okay, next part. Arrival of a sky object. Okay, the destroyer or sky monster appears to be a celestial body that arrives suddenly and changes Earth's equilibrium. Okay, and this is probably the thing that originates all of the flood myths. And I think we could probably tear that piece up, you know, how like all these different religions or whatever, they just got deposited on this planet by angels, gods, or whatever, magical things with flaming chariots and whatever. It's described as bringing fire, destruction, and atmospheric changes, potentially an allegorical or mythological interpretation of the moon's arrival. And just a quote, the destroyer passed away in the heavens, and the memory of its visitation was lost to man. So, what does that really mean? Well, y'all ever get tired out of nowhere? You know? Maybe this thing does have the ability to kind of blank minds, you know? Supposedly every time you die, you go to the astral plane. And, well, you can ascend to the light, or fuck off. Okay? And supposedly when you go into the light, you get reincarnated into another body to keep doing stuff, you know? And there's also talks of, like, farming for gold and, you know, just what's the purpose of man, you know, with these trivial bodies that we have that fail over a relatively, exceptionally a short amount of time, you know, 150 years. What is that? You know, who knows? Okay, disturbances caused by the object. Its arrival is tied to massive geological and climate upheaval. Okay, so if we didn't have the moon, we can talk about that. No tides. All right. No jet stream. No a lot of things. All right. And that thing stimulates us. It really does. You know, it's like tied into us. The days of the years were shortened and the seasons altered. The moon changed the way it moved. Celestial mechanics shift after its arrival. There are references to how the balance of the earth changed, as if by gravitational presence of a new body. Then, in the days of stillness, while the earth was motionless, the heavens opened and closed. That's wild. Oh, there's also myths from Sumerians, right? Those are supposed to be the oldest known man, right? Supposedly the moon showed up. I think it showed up and killed everything, and then it put us here. All right. I don't know. But as soon as we invent time travel, we're going to fucking figure it out, you know? Because that's it. That's the next step is you know, manipulating time. It really is. So the cult revival. I don't know if I'm ever going to read that whole fucking thing. Probably not. Probably not. Oh, we're still on point 1. Son of a bitch. Okay, so NASA's seismic data suggesting the moon rang like a bell. Okay, this was on the Apollo 12 mission. And I don't know, man. So during the Apollo 12 mission, NASA intentionally crashed the lunar module ascent stage into the moon, and supposedly lunar seismometers recorded the moon reverberating for over an hour, like a bell. And then they made that goofy-ass movie a couple years back called Moonfall, right? The guy from Game of Thrones. I don't know, man. It's not like we can go up there and fucking check real easy. All right. Apparently, you got to be a billionaire to fuck around with that shit. You know, we're this far in the game. How are we still thinking that propellant-based rockets are going to get anywhere? It makes no fucking sense. You would have to fill the moon up with fuel, strap it to your rocket with a hose, and then fuck off in one direction. You know? And you're not even going to make it halfway across the galaxy with that shit. Stargate, guys. They made 15 fucking different versions of that show. Project Stargate's a real thing, but that's more about up here, right? The evolution of man. What's, you know, manipulating space and time with our minds. I mean, we already kind of do, right? Like last night. Oh, hey, like, allow me to move this thing with my mind. Signal from brain to hand. Now I'm manipulating the universe with my mind. It's all about how you frame it, you know? That's all. Let's see if we can find the Wikipedia talking about it. Site selection, training preparation, hardware, launch vehicle, third stage trajectory, spacecraft, all set. Mission highlights. Here we go. Launch. Outward journey, lunar orbit, moon landing. Okay, Conrad, shortest man, stuff on there, short. Whoopee, man. That may have been a small one for Neil, but that's a long one for me. Apparently, he's a little dude. You go, Short King. This was not off the cuff from Mark. Connor's made a $500 bet. All right, yeah. See that? This is what people are. You know, we're fucking hilarious. I think. I think people If you can stop fucking with them long enough, dude, we are just happy-go-lucky, funny people. I think that's our default modus operandi. It's just we crack jokes, right? If we weren't forced, like if these terrible people weren't forcing us to be terrible people, we would just be having a peaceful existence, doing things. Okay, yeah, it says nothing. And then they came back. Okay, yeah, that doesn't really speak to anything. Lunar module ascent. Lunar module ascent. There it is. 29 seconds to move the craft to the lower orbit from where 76 power descent. Later source began at 17. Currently trained expert to expect a pattern of craters known as the snowman to be visible when the craft underwent pitch over. With the surveyor crater in its center. He had feared it would see nothing recognizable, but he was astonished to see the snowman right where it should be, meaning that they were directly on course. Manual control, planning to land the launch module, as he had in simulations in an area near the surveyor. Found it rougher than expected. He had to maneuver and landed. Boom. They achieved one objective for precision landing. Okay. There's that last thing. Removed more dust than it delivered onto the surveyor because the probe was covered in a thin layer that gave it a tan hue. Observe, just not talking about the thing ringing like a bell. Now Wikipedia might not, I don't know, man. Chat GPT says one thing, but then Wikipedia says another. But there has been evidence of them kind of snipping any little, what group in recent history destroys the evidence? It was the Nazis, followed by the CIA. MK Ultra, which is when my great grandpa showed up here. All the secrets. All right, are we evolving? Is this all just us trying to achieve a higher level of consciousness? I think it's possible. All right, what's the next step? It's not. I mean, look how far things are. Thought moves faster than light. They say they intentionally crashed the lunar module ascent stage into the moon, but I'm not seeing that in here. Seems like, two different things. Apollo 13 and 14, the moon vibrated unusually long with little to no dampening, unlike Earth. Earth's thick. All right. Maybe less dense or even hollow. Now, if the moon is technological, it would probably be a Dyson sphere. Right? Could be a red dwarf. If you're a type 1 civilization, okay, that means you can control all the energy on your planet. If you're type 2, you can control all the energy in from your star in your solar system. Okay, and if you're type 3, you can control everything within the galaxy. Type 4, what is that? The whole universe. All right, there's always a bigger fish. And if we start thinking like that, all of a sudden all the bullshit that we deal with here on this planet it doesn't really mean that much. I really don't. If we all die at the end of this, why aren't we allowed to have peaceful fucking lives? Why is it always obligation and bullshit, right? There ain't no gold in Fort Knox. All right, so lunar anomalies captured in official photos and video. All right, NASA photos from various Apollo missions and lunar orbiter images contain geometric structures. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can find any of these. Oh, recent China's Chang'e missions and India's Chandrayaan data have shown strange magnetic anomalies in underground structures. Okay. China's not talking about it, guys. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but China just, they're rapidly approaching America's superiority, right? As far as military. And this all really came about recently, in the past 10 years. And everyone's kind of like, oh, they're always going to take over. But it's not even that. I think whatever USOs, you know, they talk about these huge underwater things that can move 500 knots under the water. They're like the size of an oil rig. You know, I think these are like they're like the mothership of whatever's making these crafts, these UAPs. All right, if it's not us, if it's a sentient AI, I think that makes more sense. Organics die. That's kind of like, well, I mean, I guess. I mean, we're susceptible to that kind of stuff, right? The white man burns under the sun. Machines, I mean, obviously we can build things that last longer than us. Talk to welders, you know? It's like they go, and that thing is just never going to break ever. It lasts for 1,000 years while your body turns to dust. The shard and the tower and the sinus midi region. Anomalies estimated to be miles tall. Okay, let's see if we can Google that, get an image of that. Or not Google it, duck, duck, go it. Quack it or quack, quack, quack. There's some poopy images. You know, we got satellites. All right, that could see if someone's holding a gun or a hot dog. All right, on street level. But we don't have any good shots of the moon and all these weird shits. That looks like an interesting picture, right? Sinus midi. All right. Okay. Sinus midi. Or medi. That's fucking pretty. I mean, that's not an impact crater. And they say that's 50 meters. And if the sun is shining like that, like that kind of angle, you can estimate the height with that based on the location of the sun. Obviously, I can't do that, but just by eyeballing it, that seems like a pretty big fucking thing. I mean, 50 meters, how's that? 150 feet? 160? And if the sun's almost directly over it, who knows, man? That's fucking interesting. And that's pretty blatant. I don't know that we never said anything over there that tall. Interesting. High sun, low sun. 100 meter. So yeah, it says it's pretty fucking crazy on there. Okay, that's there's something. Man, it's just wild. Biblioteca. The tower, the cube, and the shard. You know, the moon being on the soul capture device. My visions that I've seen, you know, when I had that one with the energetic beings and whatever that huge thing is that I never looked at. It's entirely possible I was just on the moon. Could be the illusion that there's nothing up there. I mean, what if the moon is like a ship, right? Death Star, if you would, or Life Star, right? If that's true, then everything that humanity's ever done are we learning? I mean, why would it waste the time to teach us, for us to learn, if all the knowledge is already there? You know? That's pretty weird. What are the chances? was just asking. Yeah, let's ask Chat GPT that. You know, what are the chances the moon is a Death Star? Or the moon is a space station. It's a fringe theory. Well, that's what I'm all about. What fuels the moon is the space station theory. It's impossible perfection, right? The moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, but 400 times closer, giving us perfect solar eclipses, a rare, precise alignment. Its orbit is nearly perfectly circular, unlike most natural satellites, which we can observe in other planets in our own solar system. It's unusually large for a moon relative to this planet, making it an outlier in celestial mechanics. Love it. Hollow moon evidence during the Apollo missions. Yep, we already talked about that, but I can't see any proof of that. Well, I mean, Wikipedia's never got source, right? But GPT knows. NASA slapped stages into the moon and resulting seismic readings rang like a bell. Okay. And if it's titanium, platinum, if there's oxygen, how are you detecting? Is it oxygen in a liquid form on the surface? Is there puddles? Who knows? Soviet scientists proposed it's artificial. 1970, Soviet researchers Yasin and Sherbakov published a theory that the moon is a hollowed-out planetoid placed in orbit by an advanced civilization. So Russia's already on the page of this. Interesting. This unusual resonance implies a less dense or hollow structure, not consistent with traditional planetary formation. And I'm just hanging on the fact that those fucking impact craters are facing us. Those look like we shot right at it directly, or someone did. Soviet scientists propose it's artificial. Okay, massive internal voids and magnetic anomalies. Okay, modern data emissions from Grail and Chandrayaan-1 show strange internal cavities and localized magnetic anomalies. Okay. Remote viewers and whistleblowers, because I'm a big fan of that. All right, just because MK Ultra, and then you had Project Stargate, and then Blue Book, and just all Operation Paperclip, dude. Like all these weird things that were going on. This, what were they doing over there in Germany during World War II? Were they potentially trying to fucking kill all sorts of people to see something that couldn't die? I don't know. Ingo Swann, CIA remote viewer, reported structures and beings on the far side of the moon. That's interesting. Ken Johnston, good name. Former NASA contractor, says he was ordered to destroy images showing bases on the moon. Okay. So that's a dude who worked for a thing that's put his whole life on the line saying, hey, fuck my NDA, but y'all need to know about this. There's been a lot of those people. And some of them, accidentally double tap back of the head and suicides. Several secret space program insiders have echoed this idea that the moon is used by non-human intelligence to break away human factions. So, Nazis. And NASA, here we go, tying that back again. World War II Nazi rat lines. Where they go? Texas, South America, follow the meth. All right, NASA, Florida, Texas. All right, crazy shit happening in Florida all the time. Something's fucking with people. It really is. Something really is fucking with people. And I think it's time that humanity lets all the bullshit go. And doesn't matter what language you speak. You think, therefore you are. And we can come to some kind of consensus on how to, let's shore up our knowledge, between all nations. Because it's survival of the human race. Not just the whiteys and the darkies and the Chinesies and all the racist bullshit. It's just people. We all breathe, sleep, eat, drink, poop. Lots of poop. We all poop. Chances the moon is a space station? Scientifically, very low. 0.01 to 1%. There's no direct evidence widely accepted by mainstream science. And AMA, regular science, Smithsonian, little... right? All the ties behind it. All right. And all of the top guys involved in the Third Reich, they fucked off. They were caught years later, most of them, right? But the charred remains of Eva Braun and Hitler. And then, obviously they're like, oh, it matched dental records. Well, it's like, dude, if you're the big hoss, then you're gonna fudge all the paperwork, man, you're gonna disappear your ass. Y'all. Ancient records like the Culverin, right? Zulu Greek myths, NASA oddities, whistleblower testimony, and the moon's 2 perfect mechanics. Take all that into account. The moon being positioned or repurposed isn't far-fetched at all. Oh, I can jive with that. That is pretty weird. That is pretty fucking weird. Okay, now let's see. What other things? Speaking of people that are on the inside trying to talk about this stuff. Multiple astronauts and insiders have raised red flags. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14, openly stated that some UFOs are extraterrestrial and hinted that the moon has secrets. Buzz Aldrin, all right, referenced a UFO tracking their mission and claimed they saw lights on a crater rim. And yeah, that's kind of hard to, I mean, it's the fucking moon, you're in space. You see lights out there, you're like, there ain't supposed to be no one here. And then Ingo Swann, the CIA Stargate remote viewing project, describes structures, yada yada. That's all we got, right? And just everything kind of lines up, man. It's all very weird. I don't know. The fact that we have Soviet scientists that are like, yeah, there's something fucking weird with this, right? Man, could you imagine the world if we just weren't driven by greedy people to do terrible things? You know, if these people didn't find a way to abuse knowledge and control the masses, right? What would it look like then? You know, if the moon is an old sentient piece of technology, it made us then. What's the big hubbub? You know, Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. And that could happen. Right? It's just wild shit. Man. Is there stuff on there? Well, China did go out there recently. This year. Followed by some guys from Austin. But their shit crashed. Maybe they fixed it. I don't know. Kind of fell off the news rotation pretty quick. Now, everyone's expecting hole-in-ones all the time. But when you defund the fuck out of everything that's trying to figure it out, well, you're not ever going to get a straight answer. Somehow everyone has... Dude, it's just dumb. And if that 3-eye atlas thing is alien tech, well, maybe the moon made us so we can phone home. I don't know, why would it need us to do that? Maybe we did that through pain and consciousness. Yeah, maybe that was the SOS. Some of these are just like really, man, like these are huge ass craters, man. But the erosion on the surface, I don't like this right here could be volcanic ridge, right? Unless this impact was so great that it actually put a fucking huge dent in the whole thing. Man, there's just so many impact craters. And then you have smaller ones within those. It's not a smooth surface at all. Right? So beautiful. And these dark areas up here. Maybe that's the actual surface of the moon. Who knows? Maybe we should shoot nukes at it and see what the fuck happens, right? And then it just, you know, if the moon is like, if it's rotating perfectly with us, let's say it has that amount of energy, right? The moon's defense system could just be like, whoop, whoop, and it goes like that to the Earth and back. And then there's the mass flood. There's everything getting wiped, right? And if it does have the ability to lock onto us and has that kind of energy, maybe it's stimulating the shit out of our core. That's why we have so much volcanic activity right now, because we're actually getting nosy and we're starting to ask questions, and maybe it doesn't want to be discovered or talked about or thought about. It's just a sentient observer. It's weird stuff. Man, we're going to figure this out. before the end of this century. I promise you guys. We're going to have, hell, it might even be before the end of this year. Could be in a couple weeks. Who knows? August 17th. I don't know what's going to happen. Something's going to happen. This is pretty wild stuff, guys. You know, everything that I'm going to talk about is always going to be about freeing our minds and just kind of expanding our horizons, and just maybe they don't want us to know what they don't want us to know. Who's the ominous they? You know, if humanity is old technology, right? Just DNA, sentience, the soul circulator, right? That could be the moon. Maybe it's all just lunacy. I don't know. That looks like I'm going to stay true to my word. We're going to keep this to a short episode tonight, guys. And, yeah, hope you're all being safe out there. Like, comment, subscribe. And, yeah, let me know what you think. What is the moon? All right, how do you think it happened? You tell me in the comments. Have a safe Friday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.